London, 1888. A killer is stalking the shadows of Whitechapel. He strikes with surgical precision, vanishes into the fog, and taunts the police with letters written in red ink. We know him as Jack the Ripper. For over a century, we've been told this is a distinctly British mystery. We picture a top-hatted gentleman or a crazed royal surgeon. But what if I told you the answer to the world's most famous cold case might not be in London at all? What if the key to catching Jack lies in the files of the American FBI? And what if the man who terrorized London fled right here to the United States? Today we are reopening the file on Jack the Ripper. We're going past the myths and looking at the canonical 5 victims, the chilling letters, and the American suspects, including one man who was chased out of London and hunted by police all the way to New York City. Buckle up. This is the autumn of terror. To understand the killer, you have to understand the hunting ground. Whitechapel in 1888 wasn't just a bad neighborhood. It was hell on earth. Overcrowded, smelling of coal smoke and raw sewage. It was a place where people lived day to day, and for thousands of women, survival meant walking the streets. Between August and November 1888, 5 women, known as the Canonical 5, were brutally murdered. Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. Now, I'm not going to get into the graphic details for YouTube's sake, but you need to know why this terrified the public. These weren't just random attacks. The killer escalated. He didn't just kill, he mutilated. He took trophies, and he did it in total silence, in the pitch black, sometimes within minutes of a police patrol passing by. The panic hit its peak on September 30th, the double event. 2 women, Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes, were found murdered that night, were killed within an hour of each other. The killer was working fast, likely interrupted during the first murder, only to find a second victim immediately after. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was a compulsion. But what turned this from a police investigation into a global media circus? The letters. News agencies and Scotland Yard started receiving taunting notes. The most famous one, written in red ink, began with the chilling words, "Dear Boss," and was signed Jack the Ripper. Before this letter, the papers called him Leather Apron, but Jack stuck. Most historians today think the Dear Boss letter was a hoax, fake news created by journalists to sell papers. But there is one package that chills experts to the bone. The From Hell letter. It wasn't sent to the police. It was sent to George Lusk, head of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee. It didn't come alone. It came with a small box containing half of a preserved human kidney. The writer claimed he fried and ate the other half, and the victim, Catherine Eddowes, was indeed missing a kidney. This wasn't a journalist looking for a scoop. This was a monster looking for attention. So why wasn't he caught? Scotland Yard was running around looking for butchers, slaughterhouse workers, or local lunatics. But what if the killer had an escape route? Let's talk about the American connection. Meet Dr. Francis Tumblety. He wasn't a real doctor. He was an American quack from Rochester, New York, who sold snake oil cures. He was in London during the murders. Tumblety was known for 2 things: a deep, violent hatred of women, and a collection of preserved human organs he allegedly showed off at dinner parties. Scotland Yard did arrest Tumblety, not for murder, but for gross indecency. But here's the kicker. He posted bail and immediately fled England. He jumped on a steamship to New York City. And guess what happened when he left London? The Ripper murders stopped. New York City police were actually on high alert. They paled Tumblety all over Manhattan, but they couldn't extradite him for the minor charges in London, and they had no hard proof he was the Ripper. He died a free man in St. Louis in 1903. There is another theory, popularized recently by the show The Devil in the White City. Some believe Jack the Ripper was actually H.H. Holmes, America's first serial killer. The theory goes that Holmes visited London, committed the murders, and then returned to Chicago to build his murder castle. While it's a terrifying thought, a crossover of the two worst killers of the 19th century, most historians don't buy it. The timelines don't line up perfectly, but Tumblety, he remains one of Scotland Yard's top historical suspects. So, who was he really? A gentleman? A doctor? In 1988, for the 100th anniversary of the crimes, the FBI got involved. Special Agent John Douglas, the guy the show Mindhunter is based on, created the modern criminal profile of Jack the Ripper. Douglas concluded that the royal conspiracy and the evil doctor theories were total garbage. According to the FBI profile, Jack the Ripper was a white male, aged 28 to 36, a disorganized offender. The killings weren't planned surgeries, they were frenzied attacks. A loner with poor social skills. He wouldn't have been a charming aristocrat. He likely worked a menial job, maybe as a butcher's assistant or a mortuary helper. And finally, he was local. He lived right in Whitechapel. He didn't commute. He hunted in his own backyard. Douglas believes the killer didn't stop because he fled to America. He believes the killer stopped because he was likely arrested for something else, committed to an asylum, or died. This profile points a finger at suspects like Aaron Kosminski, a local resident who was committed to an asylum shortly after the murders ended. Over 130 years later, we are still obsessed. Was it Kosminski, the local lunatic? Was it Tumblety, the American quack who fled to New York? Or was it someone whose name we've never heard? The truth is buried in the London fog. But the profile tells us one thing. Monsters aren't usually evil princes or geniuses. They are usually the quiet, strange neighbor living right next door. I want to know your verdict. Do you think the Ripper fled to America, or did he die in a London asylum? Let me know your theory in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button and subscribe. We've got a lot more cold cases to crack. Until next time, stay safe.